Now I'm mad! It was you against the universe.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Dragon Ball Sparking Zero preview. My name is Liban. Joining me today, and it's actually been a long time coming, is Bangem. How's it going, man?
I'm good, man. I'm blessed. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. I'm ready to talk some Dragon Ball goodness. So yeah, man. Appreciate you for having me.
No, thank you so much for joining me. Now, this has been a long time coming. So just to kind of start things off, I got to play it recently at the Bandai Namco showcase. Of course, shout outs to Bandai Namco for having me there. And you got to play it at Gamescom, right?
Yes, I did. Yeah. It was only literally I spent a lot of money to go over there just to play that one game. But yeah, amazing. What I touched so far is yeah, I'm literally counting down the weeks now.
Sick. So I don't think I actually admitted this to you before. So obviously you went over to Gamescom to play it, right? And I saw you obviously post up stuff about it, and I was seething, man. I was upset. I was like, oh my god.
So I done my job right then.
You made me upset. I was like, oh man, I really want to play this game.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people have been looking forward to this one for a very long time. We've obviously have our own experiences with Dragon Ball as well, through different forms of media. So what's your history like? Maybe not only with the Dragon Ball games, but just Dragon Ball in general.
So Dragon Ball in general, I'm like everyone, like a 90s baby. Dragon Ball was everything growing up in school. Foreign to begin with, but then when it came on Cartoon Network and, you know, they were drip feeding us one episode a week, which felt like torture back then. Dragon Ball's life. Dragon Ball's everything, you know. Games, I had a look at the games because I needed to kind of refresh myself. I've played literally every Dragon Ball game out there. I can't name them all to you, but the fondest memory I have is Budokai Tenkaichi, the first one. And I remember that roster being fairly stacked as well when it first came out. And oh man, like even watching some old YouTube videos on it as well, like it's just such a fond memory, such a strong memory of my childhood and my teenage years, just banging it out with the boys, couch co-op style. Like, oh man, what a time. It was wicked times, man.
God, I don't even know if I should even admit this. I think as a child, Dragon Ball Z really took over my life. I used to, I actually can't believe I'm about to admit this, but on a very, on a really like windy day, I'd go out into my back garden, right?
Oh, come on, man, we all done that.
I'll go into my back garden, I'll pretend like I'm powering up, it feels so good.
The power up, all of that. I believed, I could like fly, I believed I could charge up, I believe I had something in me.
Yeah.
Cool, I don't look like the Saiyan type or whatever, but I believe I could transform. I don't care. No 100%. One can tell me otherwise. I believed I could transform into something, become stronger. Goku is mainly one of my top 5, maybe top 3 inspirations why I used to go hard in the gym.
Oh, nice.
Him and Vegeta. You know, it's just like that whole, because, you know, a lot of people don't realize animes, they teach life lessons.
They do, 100%.
You know, if you haven't got certain figures around you, or you know, certain, older cousins, brothers, sisters, parents, whatever, not around to kind of school you and educate you and whatever, animes, they teach you great life lessons. And, you know, with Dragon Ball, there's always keep going. You know, you're strong, but you can always surpass that. Just keep going. It's that like never quit kind of mentality. So there's some really like deep lessons in Dragon Ball if you can kind of read between the lines.
100, man. I'm glad I'm not alone there. You know, my neighbor's watching me thinking, what is this child doing? Screaming in the back garden.
Yeah.
When it comes to, so for me, when it comes to the Dragon Ball games, and obviously we had like a little discussion about it just a little bit earlier. I can't for the life of me remember the PlayStation 1 game, the sprites, because what you could do in that game, the manual actually came with a cheat code to unlock secret characters, like Kid Goku, Roshi. Probably the one I do remember the earliest is probably Dragon Ball Final Bout. I don't know if it was Dragon Ball Z Final Bout or Dragon Ball Final Bout.
No, Final Bout was amazing. Yeah.
Final Bout, and then eventually the first Budokai before they really locked down the anime visuals. Back then it looked a bit blocky, but it still looked good. So as I mentioned earlier before, we're going to be talking about Sparking Zero. Again, this game has been a long time coming. We both got to play it, so just to kind of give us your expectations, what were you kind of expecting from the game before jumping into it? And once you've played it now, what do you actually think about it?
Okay, so first off, like I had a very with games in general, I have very low bars these days. You know, I'm not really inspired as much. I like it when they kind of revisit series, but I also know they can kind of butcher that at times. Right. So I was a little bit apprehensive. I was a little bit worried that they may mess this up. Because I think Tenkaichi 2 was about 15 years ago, maybe longer. Time ago. Yeah. It's been a long time. So and they left the bar insanely high. So in my mind, I was like, okay, they have to get the character designs on point.
100. Yep.
It has to be 60 FPS.
Yep.
I need to see a stacked roster because the thing is, Dragon Ball games are recycled a lot, and they never give us everything. Fill those slots with movie characters. I think we've reached the top. I don't know, because everything that's out there right now is everyone. Like I really don't know who else they can add other than the movie characters. So it'll be interesting to see how they kind of expound upon that and where they go from that from a DLC perspective as well.
Matter of fact, you're looking at one.
You never beat me.
Stand down, my son.
So we both got to play this at two separate times. As I mentioned to you earlier, I was seething. You got there ahead of me. But how did you feel playing the game? Control-wise, how does it feel to play Sparking Zero?
Controls-wise, first off, visually, I thought it looked amazing. I felt it felt smooth. I didn't notice any frame tearing at all. I felt the specials and supers were banging. Like, I think visually, you know, Bandai really rolled the red carpet out for us. We're being spoiled right now when it comes to, this version of the game. Sure. Mechanics, good. It's going to cater to two markets. So we're going to get that modern market. So people who are going to be the button basher, which is just spamming square over up, they're going to have a fighting chance. And then we've got like the combinations for, you know, the classic users, you know, for the highly skilled or people that want to become skilled and kind of dial in on that. Yeah. So I think we're going to have a nice even balance community-wise when it comes to playing Sparking Zero.
Yeah, no, I agree. So for those of you who don't know, there are settings that you can tune in-game to make it more to your preference, depending on what you want to do. So there are things like auto combos from simply pressing square. You can even do an auto guard, which I don't know how that's going to help. You would literally have to time your attacks to the other person's attack to break their guard, but that's available for you as well. And more so, not only just to mess about, but more especially for those of you who may have a hard time playing these sort of games, those options are available for you as well to mess around with.
Time's over. Do as Danny says and kill them all. I must use my last resource.
So when we did play it, I only got to play versus CPU. Did you get to try out any other modes or versus others?
No, so they were kind of single person stations, so we only can play CPU. I did ask if I could battle, so I went to Gamescom with my cousin, and I did actually ask if we can kind of do like a versus, but they were like, no, sorry, it's only like a single person station. So yeah, it was a shame.
Yeah, does that worry you, or is that just a part of the process when it comes to the demos?
So I have read that there may not be couch co-op, which is a little concerning because I feel that's just a fundamental feature that should stay in games forever.
Yeah, definitely.
Because people are going to come around to my house. They are going to want to sit down and play games with me. I don't want to be forced to play with someone all the time online. Yeah, that's we'll maybe get to that later on, but that's one of my concerns at the moment, is that aspect.
Yeah, so early on they mentioned something about local multiplayer being difficult just based on, and when you look at the game itself, the visual aspect and such, which by the way is far and ahead any Dragon Ball game that came before it, it is using quite a lot of that console or PC's power. So trying to reproduce that, I'm assuming on a split screen, it's going to be very difficult for them. The compromise I heard, and I don't know if this is still the case, is that you can do local multiplayer, but it's only going to be in the hyperbolic time chamber, nowhere else, because that's the one environment that has the least amount of things in it. Yeah, all you have is the actual room there, and then it's just white.
Okay,
else.
that makes sense. That makes sense because I can imagine, yeah, as rich as the game looks, yeah, split screen pushing that, you maybe burn your PlayStation out, to be honest. So that's a fair, yeah, assessment, I guess.
Yeah, so they did say that they will try and figure something out in the future. Maybe that's a PS5 Pro sort of thing. I don't know, but when you do play online, from the sounds of it, you can pick wherever you want. But when it's local multiplayer, you're in that chamber, boy. You can't go anywhere else.
That's interesting.
But speaking of the visuals, probably the best looking Dragon Ball game that's ever come around. I said that about Fighters. Kakarot sort of. I think Fighters and Kakarot are sort of there on the same level, but I think Sparking Zero has kind of gone above them both in terms of the presentation overall. I think they've really killed the presentation, and
massively.
This is just something, especially with Bandai Namco and their anime games. They've kind of just been fine-tuning for a very long time. If you put up a screenshot of the first Budokai and Sparking Zero next to each other, you wouldn't believe it's like the same game series.
Differences, yeah. But Bandai, they've got a wealth of knowledge in this field. They've really gone from strength to strength, and they get better yearly. You know, you see it in the Naruto games. You see it in is it Jujutsu Kaisen that's behind them as well? I believe so.
Yeah, I just assume every anime game is done by them now.
Yeah. So like you see the increments, and then it's just getting better and better and better. And Sparking Zero, it looks like they're going to set the bar somewhere where a lot of these other devs are going to struggle to get to if they're going to attempt an anime beat 'em up game, because this is going to be October. This is going to be some peak gaming, man. It's going to be some real peak gaming. It's going to
be some broke controllers.
Yeah, listen, I'm telling you.
So not only the visuals, a lot of the actual combat as well, especially if you played the other games, you will recognize a lot of it. Just from your perspective, from my perspective, I found there to be some input delay when doing the actual combat. It didn't feel as smooth as it should be. I felt like I was pressing a button and then something was happening maybe half a second later, maybe less than that. How did you find your actual play when you were at Gamescom?
It was fine. It was fine. I didn't notice any issues. Here's a question for you. What were you actually playing on? Were you playing on a PS5 or was it a dev kit? Was it a PC? What was it actually running on?
It was a PS5 dev kit. It was definitely a PS5 dev kit because it had all the other bells and whistles with it.
Okay, that's interesting because I'm pretty sure when I was at Gamescom I played on a PC.
Right. Okay.
So I don't know if that version I've got was a little bit more, had a bit more grunt behind it. I don't know if they kind of opened the floodgates graphically and frame rate wise, so there was no issues. But even from like a movement perspective as well, it felt fluid. It felt fine. It felt like the finished product. But yeah, it'd be interesting to know how many versions out we are from actual release. Maybe like one more patch away, possibly, for it being the final product. Who knows?
Possibly. Again, the build I was playing was pretty old, so anything I've mentioned in regards to controls could be moot by this point in time, or even by the time the game comes out. There's been literal trailer after trailer, almost on a weekly basis at this point, just with updates on the game itself. But hopefully they kind of lock that down. It doesn't become an issue later, because other than that, the game felt really, really fun to play. When it came to the actual, something I found, and I don't know if you agree with, when it came to the finishers, so the Spirit Bomb, your Big Bang Attack, your Final Flash, I felt that it lacked the same kind of impact that other games had. So
when you say that, do you mean like on how grand the explosions are, or the aftermath that's left from those specials? Like what do you mean by that exactly?
Yeah, so a good example I would give is if you look at Fighters, and let's say you do any sort of big finisher, whether it's a Spirit Bomb, or I'll use Gohan's one as an example, the Kamehameha wave he does with his dad.
Father and son Kamehameha.
The father and son one, yep. So what happens is you do it, the animation plays, you see the ground breaking up, the screen turns to white, it transitions into a separate scene where you see the scale of the actual attack from a distance. So it's like, okay, that's where these guys are fighting all the way down there, and you can see that attack you just did. Then transition backs in, you see the dust clearing, the stage might be messed up, but it has that process there that made me think, oh yeah, that was a big attack that just got let off. But in the current game, Sparking Zero, you still get that kind of grand scale animation. So for example, when Goku does his probably the one they showed in the first trailer is Goku Blue, when he does his Kamehameha wave, you see him power up in like some orb, then he does it, then he throws it, but then it just ends in a little explosion afterwards. That's it. So I just feel like it doesn't have that same impact that some of the older games did.
Well, I think to that sentiment, I think, you know, luckily that we're in the internet era, we're in the online era, so, you know, hopefully we can get a patch. Hopefully Bandai listen to the community. Hopefully they pick up on that, and, you know, hopefully if enough people kind of scream or cry about that, they can patch that later on down the line. So me, I'm just positive about those. They're big things, but I'm kind of reassuring myself that may get rectified later on down the line.
Yeah, I mean, thinking about it now, it does, to be fair, it sounds more like a nitpick than anything else. But to begin with, I thought I was actually seeing something that wasn't actually there. But I've heard others say the same sentiment, that it's lacking something in that department.
No, but I feel like you're right in bringing that up, because it's all a part of the experience. And that's like a massive Dragon Ball proponent. That's you know, we see these grand displays of power. Yeah. We see them en masse. We follow them for weeks, watching these episodes, them leveling up and getting to this stage, and then for them to do a move and then it becomes destructive and it blows up worlds, or it burns half of the world. Like, we want to see that, and that adds to the overall gaming experience, in my opinion. So, you know, I just want, like you said, a grand finisher or special S rank move, and I want to just see the aftermath. I want to see everything destroyed, you know. It's similar to I can't remember what Tenkaichi it is, when Frieza does his ball of destruction on planet Namek, and then when he sends that afterwards, like, Namek is like lava, it's all red, everything's burnt up, and it's just like, it changes the whole dynamic of the map as well. Wicked. It's amazing.
So it's funny you mentioned that. So that does happen in the demo I played. But so for me, it's like a 3-point process. You have the first point where it's the grand animation, the attack gets let off. The middle part is like what I think they're missing. The end part, they seem to have it. So if you do a big attack off in Namek, which, by the way, in the demo itself, there were a few stages we could play on. One of them was Namek. You do a big enough attack, it does do the whole boom, 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 boom. Namek explodes a bit, and then you get like lava Namek. But I feel like it's that middle transition that I think they're missing at this moment in time. That will kind of just bring it all together into one bit. Speaking of Namek, we did get to play on a couple of stages. Namek was one of them. I believe the mountain area was another one. The city, which I think is one of my favorites, was another one. What did you think of the stages you got to play on?
So I believe I predominantly played on Namek. I also managed to play on the World Tournament stage as well.
Oh, World Tournament, yes.
Which was wicked. I couldn't tell when I was playing on the World Tournament stage is if you can actually go outside of the bounds of the tournament, because there was times when we're in aerial battle, and then I've looked down and it's like we're in the green, or I just look down and I see green and I can see the tournament stage like kind of in a distance there. So I'm like, oh, have we kind of gone out a little bit? So it looks like they're not locking you down. So, you know, like old versions of Dragon Ball games, you have to stay within that tournament vicinity. Even if you fly out, there's invisible walls that kind of keep you
locked in.
You're kind of boxed in. So it'll be interesting to see if they allow that level of freedom when you're fighting to go outside of those bounds. Namek was cool. I found like a lot of blast moves and kind of blast push moves were sending me through rocks, through mountains and cliffs, were kind of crumbling and breaking, like the old school classic Dragon Ball cartoons and movies. It's just, it was wicked.
Yeah, so I played on Namek. I played on the mountain area, so lots of different rocks to throw people through. In regards to what you said about this, so that's a good point because I'm unsure if you pick the city stage and you can fly over to the tournament area, or if you pick the tournament stage and you can just go out into the city area. So what I do know is that if you play on the world tournament stage and you let off a big attack, let's say a spirit bomb, it plays an additional animation. So what happens is the tournament announcer gets really scared, tells everyone to evacuate the arena. You see all these people running out, right? Then it transitions back to your character letting off the attack, and then it does a huge explosion. So once you've destroyed the tournament area, you can fly outside it afterwards.
Okay. So you have to. That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, so they put a lot of thought into it. I thought that was really bloody cool. That there was this whole extra thing going on in order for you to get out. But so there is a way to do it, but I don't know if you're in the city or if it's a separate city and you could fly over to the tournament stage. Maybe it's two different complete stages. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, we mentioned it at the top. It's a game that's been a long time coming. It's already got a huge roster. Just recently they announced the GT characters that are going to be in there, which I'm super happy about to see them, because GT gets disrespected too much, in my opinion.
I'm one of those disrespectors. I can't lie. I disrespect it as well. I feel Super has leapfrogged it, but that's a conversation over there. But yeah.
No, absolutely. What are you hoping to see either at launch or further down the line when it comes to Sparking Zero?
I don't know. Like I feel like they're giving it. I feel like they're giving it all to us now. I don't know. Like everything, every character release trailer that they've released so far, I think because we're, again, as I mentioned earlier, we're so used to just being given so little with Dragon Ball games, or being drip fed character packs. I was kind of like, in my mind, I thought, okay, we may get from Dragon Ball to Majin Buu Saga characters, and then they'll just, they'll trickle feed us super characters, a little bit of super characters, a little bit of movie characters, maybe some GT characters. They're giving it to us all in one go. We're getting that on release day. We're getting everything we've seen. We're getting it. So in my mind, I'm like, what is left? Like what? Like that? Those are the burning questions to me. Is like, okay, like what are you gonna put in the DLC? Who are we gonna get? Who else can you like? I've proper analyzed that character roster, and I'm like, those last 10 spots, they have to be villains from the movies. So like Android 13,
that makes sense to me.
Lord Slug,
Bojack,
Cooler, Bojack, Janemba. We haven't seen. I know Tapion ain't a villain, but Tapion. So it'll be interesting to see once they fill those final 10 slots. So we may get a trailer in a week or so, I don't know, just before release.
My hopes for it, not necessarily things I see later down the line, it's just that the game is running smoothly on launch day. No issue. I wouldn't say no issues, because that's almost impossible nowadays, but just if there are issues, just really minor ones. One mode, actually two things. Eventually, hopefully they figure out multiplayer on any stage you want, local multiplayer. And one mode I hope that is not just like a throwaway mode and is actually kind of expansive. And I don't know if they gave this mode a name, is the episode mode. You'll create your own episode mode.
Oh, okay. Yes. Was that rumored to be in this, or?
I assumed it was going to be, everything was going to be, because I haven't heard otherwise.
Okay.
Because they actually showed it off. So they showed it off. They showed they were adding their own text and stuff. And I was like, that's really bloody cool, because I'm of that group, right? I'm of that group that should have always have been Gohan Black and not Goku Black. Because of it would have been a much bigger impact. And then all his PTSD and all of that trauma, that would have been on a much grander scale. Don't get me wrong, I like Goku Black. I think having an evil Goku is good. I think we kind of got an evil Goku with Turles a long time ago. Another movie villain, Tails, Goku's twin or whatever. But I think Gohan Black, I want to make that story mode. You know, I want to make that episode where it's Trunks versus Gohan Black. So the emotional impact will be so much bigger in that case.
Be wicked, man.
And and also that you can download other people's episodes as well, the ones that they make.
That would be sick.
Because I know some people are gonna make some stupid stuff, but I know others are gonna make some really, really good stuff.
Yeah. One thing that's literally just came to mind is another concern of mine.
Yeah, sure.
And that is how well the online lobbies are going to work. Like how, because I know, you know, the 2024 and, you know, a lot of games and their servers and online lobbies are still a little bit shaky. And that's one of my concerns. On as high performing as this game comes across and looks, I'm just concerned, what's that going to look like in an online multiplayer capacity?
I think if they can do anything like Fighters Online, which just recently kind of got patched and fixed up, I don't know if they got rollback yet, maybe they did, then it should be okay. I think for a game like this, it could definitely make use of rollback. But again, it's so high paced. There's a lot happening. A lot can happen on screen at once. A lot of particle effects are going off on this one, so we're just gonna have to see on launch day. If it doesn't work correctly on launch day, I wouldn't be surprised, to be fair. We've kind of seen it time and time again with games that are not even pushing it as hard as this one is right now. But as long as they eventually fix it, then that's absolutely fine. So long as if you do a custom lobby and you're in there and you're playing with locals and it works fine, then that's absolutely fine with me. I wouldn't be too annoyed by that.
I feel like that's my main concern. I'm worried how it could potentially hurt this game and the franchise, because I do believe once this game comes out, this may be it for a very long time. But this may be like another, after that 10 years, 15-year wait, because they've poured it. It feels like they're pouring their all into this game, and they're giving us what we've been asking for years, which is a fully stacked Dragon Ball Z game, and that is going to be Tenkaichi, you know, Sparking Zero 4 unofficially, what you want to call it. But like, I feel like they're pouring their all into this. So I want it to work so bad. I don't want it to get any bad press. I don't want it to be poo-pooed anyway. I just want it to come out and just be an amazing game as what I've played so far.
Okay, so that brings it to the end of our Sparking Zero preview. A lot to think about, a lot discussed overall. In general, we hope the game does incredibly well. We've been waiting for it as much as other people have been waiting for it as well. Once again, Bangem, thank you so much for joining me today.
Love, man. Thank you.
As it is your first exposure to, actually it's your first time on the channel, so let everyone know where they can catch you, where they can find your sick content.
I'm everywhere on socials. Well, mainly YouTube is my main platform. YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. That's Bangem TV, Bangem TV. You can also look me up on www.bangemtv.com.
Sweet. So, hope you guys enjoyed this preview. Of course, if you have been playing Sparking Zero at any of the events, because I know it's been at a couple right now, let me know down in the comments below. Do you agree what we said? Do you think what we're saying is absolute poo? Just say in the comments below. I'll read it anyway. It's absolutely fine. Regardless.
Dragon Ball's gonna be the best game this year, next year. Yeah.
Game of the year. Game of the year. That would I would lose my mind if Dragon Ball was Game of the year. Like, please, of course, like, comment, subscribe to Bangem, both of Bangem's channel, his main one and side quests, I believe.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. Newly launched. Yeah.
Fantastic. Subscribe to this channel as well. There'll be plenty more previews coming from the Bandai Showcase. And we'll catch you guys in another video. See you later.
Peace.
Huh?